The sinking of the unsinkable ship. The Titanic was a symbol of luxury, renowned as the most sophisticated and secure ship of its era. Its captain, with over 40 years of experience in navigation and travel, was considered highly experienced and respected in his field. Yet, on that fateful night and on its maiden voyage, the unthinkable happened. The Titanic struck an iceberg, and within hours the magnificent ship sank to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. What were the true causes behind the sinking of the Titanic? Who or what should be held responsible for the tragedy? Why did over 2/3 of the passengers on the Titanic lose their lives, despite the ship taking several hours to sink and opportunities for rescue? Join us as we explore this remarkable true story, uncover new information, and answer those questions. The Titanic was a British passenger liner that was built by the White Star Line in the early 20th century. The ship was designed to be the most luxurious ship of its time. Some of the suites of the first-class cabins included separate sitting rooms, dressing rooms, and bedrooms. The furnishings were elegant and included items such as marble-topped dressers, ornate chairs, and even a writing desk in some cabins. The Titanic's swimming pool was also a marvel of luxury. It was one of the first heated swimming pools on a ship. The pool was adorned with mosaic tiles, and the adjacent Turkish bath featured hot and cold showers and a steam room. The ship had a large gymnasium and Turkish bath. It also had a library and a music room and multiple dining rooms. The ship's crew was trained to provide the highest level of hospitality to passengers, with a focus on attention to details and personalization. The ship was designed to be the most sophisticated and secure ship of its era, and it was intended to be a symbol of British engineering and maritime power. The Titanic was the largest ship of its time, measuring 882 feet long and weighing over 46,000 tons. It had a passenger capacity of over 2,200 people. The Titanic was constructed with innovative techniques and materials, such as a double-bottomed hull and 16 watertight compartments designed to prevent the ship from sinking in the event of a collision. These features led to the ship being dubbed unsinkable by many people at the time. The captain of the Titanic was Edward Smith, a highly experienced seaman who had served in the British Royal Navy for several years before joining the White Star Line. Smith was a veteran of the White Star Line, having worked for the company for over 30 years, and was known as the millionaire's captain for his frequent command of ships favored by wealthy passengers. Smith had a reputation as a cautious captain who was very concerned about the safety of his passengers and crew. Ironically, Smith had planned to retire after the Titanic's maiden voyage, but tragically he went down with the ship. The ship's passengers were a mix of wealthy and middle-class travelers, as well as immigrants seeking a new life in America. The Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage from Southampton, England on April 10, 1912, with 2,224 passengers and crew on board. The ship was scheduled to make stops in France and Ireland, before crossing the Atlantic and arriving in New York City. On the night of April 14, 1912, the Titanic was sailing through the North Atlantic. Despite reports of ice in the area, the Titanic was traveling at a high speed through an ice field, with only a limited number of lookouts posted in the crow's nest. At around 11:40 p.m., the lookout spotted an iceberg directly in the ship's path and sounded the alarm. The crew attempted to steer the ship away from the iceberg and reverse the engines to slow down, but it was too late. The Titanic struck the iceberg on its starboard side, puncturing several of the ship's watertight compartments and causing the ship to flood rapidly. The crew immediately tried to pump out the water and slow the flooding, but the damage was too severe and the crew realized that the situation was serious and that the ship was in danger of sinking. The captain ordered the crew to sound the alarm and send out distress signals to other ships in the area and for lifeboats to be loaded and launched. However, there were not enough lifeboats to accommodate all of the passengers and crew members, and some of the lifeboats were launched only partially filled. In addition, many of the passengers were hesitant to board the lifeboats, believing that the Titanic was unsinkable and that they would be safer on the ship. There were also reports of class divisions and discrimination during the evacuation, with first-class passengers being given priority access to the lifeboats and some third-class passengers being prevented from reaching the upper decks. The nearby ship SS Californian receives the distress signals and its crew saw the Titanic's distress rockets. However, they did not realize the severity of the situation and did not respond to the Titanic's calls for help. There are several possible reasons why the SS Californian did not come to the Titanic's aid. One theory is that the crew of the Californian believed that the Titanic was conducting some sort of fireworks display or celebration, rather than signaling for help. Another theory is that the radio operator on the Californian had gone to bed and did not hear the Titanic's distress calls. There were also other ships in the area that may have received the Titanic's distress signals, but they were too far away to provide assistance in time. The Carpathia, which eventually rescued the survivors, was the closest ship to the Titanic at the time of the sinking, but it was still several hours away. As the ship sank, there were stories of heroism and selflessness among the crew and passengers. Some of the crew members worked tirelessly to launch the lifeboats and help people into them, while some passengers gave up their spots on the lifeboats to women and children. Despite these efforts, over 1,500 people lost their lives in the disaster, including passengers and crew members from all classes and backgrounds. Smith was posthumously blamed for the sinking of the Titanic by some, but many experts believe that the disaster was the result of a series of systemic failures rather than the fault of any individual person. The sinking of the Titanic sparked international outrage and led to significant changes in maritime safety regulations, including the requirement for more lifeboats on board and the establishment of a wireless distress signal. The sinking of the Titanic became the subject of numerous books, movies, and documentaries, making it one of the most enduring tragedies of the 20th century. Thanks for watching History Said So. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe for more videos.